So what could the energy agenda look like under President-elect Trump's new administration? Our next guest says while there are some pros, there could be some cons as well for the oil and gas market. Joining us now is Bill Perkins, president and CEO at Skylar Capital Management. Bill, you just heard Pippa's report about this kind of balancing act that we're seeing between green energy and traditional hydrocarbon energy. The presumption is that it's just all oil and gas, drill, baby, drill, and that's basically it. But it's much more nuanced than that.
Yeah, I think this incoming administration is pro-energy of all kinds, whether it's nuclear, renewable, natural gas. And so any type of energy delay or delaying the United States from producing any type of energy, they're looking to remove those delays, those bottlenecks, and those frustration points. And so we should see that happening very quickly. I think the first time this administration came in, it took a while for them to get their feet wet, to understand how things work. They now understand these frustration points, and they're looking to come in, hitting the ground running.
The markets have already made at least a near-term verdict, right, Bill, on this. We've seen clean energy companies like solar companies see their stocks relatively lower, and in many cases absolutely lower compared to oil and gas stocks. How exactly do investors navigate this kind of environment? Are there relative value trades, and how exactly do you position portfolios to allocate to all different kinds of energy?
Well, let's go by sector. So these companies, I think people are worried about the incentives, the Inflation Reduction Act, those type of things going away. I don't think that'll be the first thing. I think the first thing will be positive for them. Whether you produce solar panels or transformers or any kind of renewable product, you have to get a permit. And the biggest issue we have in the United States of America is the permitting times are too long. There's a wing within the EPA and within the government that is basically a anti-development of any kind of energy source, and that is hurting along the value chain in renewable energy. So I think they're going to actually benefit to begin. And there is some odds that the IRA gets reduced or something happens with that. But I think the main bottleneck for energy production in the United States of America is the weaponization of the permitting system. For crude oil, on the other side, I think the current administration has kind of turned a blind eye to some of the sanctions violations. They're not really big on enforcement. We're big on handing out naughty boy slips. And we know where these sanction violators are going, who they're meeting up with, et cetera. And so the enforcement has been a little lax. And I think this new administration is going to take a much tougher stance on enforcement.
Bill, I want to ask you, the administration Trump has reportedly considered an energy czar who would kind of go and unwind a lot of the Biden kind of climate rules. At the same time, some of the business leaders, I believe it was Exxon, was maybe trying to communicate to the president and say, look, if every 4 years we go totally in one direction and then totally in another and then totally back and forth and totally, it's hard to be able to invest in projects with clarity in the long term. And obviously, if we want low energy prices, we need to know, and have people put capital to work over, 10, 20 year period of time. Do you think there's some truth to that we're seeing too much volatility, or do we need to turn a page from what took place during the last 4 years?
Yeah, I think, everybody wants clean air and clean water. And I think the people coming in have kids and families, et cetera. What they're trying to get rid of, the obstructionist attitude, the inability to use electronic communications using snail mail, the deliberate attempts to slow down reasonable permitting. I think that's the part where they're going to come in and rip things up and roll things back. As far as like on the legislation side, on the EPA rules and Clean Air Act, I agree with the CEO. You want stability. Stability breeds investment. And we want the rules to be followed. We don't want obstructionist wings within the government, even though you have the cleanest renewable plant, but they are slowing you down with permitting times that basically destroys your ability to bring this facility on, whether it be solar or wind or hydro or geothermal. And so I think there is a balance that needs to happen and some stability that needs to happen. But currently, the incoming administration is set on blowing up anything that is obstructionist or weaponized.
All right. And permitting sounds like it could be one of those first avenues to explore. Bill, for now, thanks. We appreciate it. Bill Perkins.